Hey everyone, this is Dephemerember by Dell, and we are going to work on our Dephemerember project for day 2. As you have guessed by now, I am a day behind. So I've already started this. What I have is a bingo card. Day 2, our prompts are splatters and playing card. Bingo is a game, we play it. This is a bingo card. So I rest my case. This is a playing card. Anyhow, I'm using the back, and what I have done is applied a layer of gesso to it, and I used a stencil, this stencil, with evergreen bough, and I have applied a design to it. Now I'm going to take the edge of my card, and I'm going to dip it into the copper embossing powder and just get a little on the edges of it. My dish isn't big enough to dip the long edge, so we'll just kind of put some on. It's going to stick here and there. I might have to add a little more ink, or we'll see how much actually sticks. But I want it to be random. I don't want it to be like a solid edge to it. I really wouldn't mind. I kind of like it getting on the leaves a little bit too. So we'll go in a little bit further than the edges with our embossing powder. There we go. I'm happy with that amount. And then I will heat set that. So our animal for today is a giraffe. Now this is an original playing card, and it's a little bit brittle, so I'm having to be a bit careful with it. But I think the more I get on it, the more it's going to be stabilized. So the decision that I have made for my giraffe is a digital from 49 Dragonflies, and she had, and I believe she has it listed. I know she has it listed on her channel in the information box. This digital that has this really nice giraffe and this butterfly, and it was used in another one of her projects before. And this is the card that goes with this project. And I'm using my cards as journaling cards. So I'll ink up around the edge of that. I'm going to go ahead and use this green, even though normally I always use vintage photo to go around my edges. But this will match our green and our foliage on the back of our card. And then I will stamp up around the outside edges of that, or around the whole back side of that, with some Distress Oxide. And again, I'm going to use the evergreen. That's out of my comfort zone, but I think it'll be gorgeous. And we'll set that aside. Actually, guys, let's emboss the edges of this a little bit too. Maybe I'll have to add a little more ink. This oxide is not an embossing ink, but it does stay wet long enough sometimes to get some powder to stick to it. If you were looking for more of a solid cover to it, then you're going to want to use an embossing ink. Let's set that and see how it looks. So that's a really fine edge along there, and that looks pretty nice actually. Let's see if any of our powder is going to stick to any of this. No, it's already dried. So we'll just leave that be. We'll set that aside. Back to our project here. So I've chosen the giraffe and the butterfly. I'm going to make a journaling card out of this also. So I'll have 2 journaling cards in my project, which is okay. This one actually you're not going to get to journal on because I didn't want to cover the original side of the bingo so that we know what it is, and I just want to decorate the back side. So now I want to take this stencil, and I'm debating whether I need to lay my giraffe down first and then add my texture paste, which I think is what I'll do. So before that, I want to add a little bit of texture behind my giraffe. And I have this piece of paper, but I'm not sure if it's going to be like too much. So let's just tear a piece. We can always use it on something else if we decide we don't like it here. but I was thinking maybe of adding some of this to it. And then in our last project, we used some of the magenta mulberry paper. And I'm going to tear some of that and see where we want to use that too. Like right up the side like that. And then our giraffe will be coming up out of the grass. We'll have a butterfly down here. And then I think some texture paste. So we're going to glue all of this down and then we'll add our texture paste. The mulberry paper is really thin, so I can get away with just using a glue stick. My glue stick of choice is the Yoo-Hoo glue. Always has been for years and years and years. And we'll just put this down. Like that. I want to ink up around the edges. I'm going to use the evergreen bow again. And it also is very thin. It's just a magazine picture, so it'll go down really well with the Yoo-Hoo glue also. We'll stick that right over the top of that. Oops, let's not forget to get our giraffe in there. And I think I'll apply the giraffe with my art glitter glue. Make sure I get right out to the edges so he stays pretty firmly planted is what we want. There we go. Such a pretty giraffe. Giraffes are pretty anyhow, but this one's extra pretty. And the butterfly is going to go on later. I do think I want to stitch though now because my machine likes me better if I don't do stitching with embossing paste. It doesn't like the embossing paste and it tells me so. So I'll go stitch this. All right, the embossing paste that we're going to use, or the modeling paste, is just some modeling paste from Michael's. And we're going to use this stencil just because it kind of looks maybe like a giraffe spots, maybe not. We're just going to randomly put a little bit of that here and there. There, I think that's enough. Now we need to let that dry, and that's going to take a little while. So what we're going to do is work on our page. This is totally backwards for me. Usually I make the page and then I make the ephemera. Okay, here's my journal. I don't have a cover for it yet. I haven't decided for sure what I want to do. So there's the page for yesterday. Today's page we want to work on is going to be, I'm thinking this one. And this is some of my Echo Print paper here. Let me see. Yeah, I think a busy background, like he's in the jungle. And we have some of this page paper left. I think we'll add some of that. I'm not sure which direction I want to go with it. So let's just tear a piece. And do we like that with that? I'm not so sure that that's where I want to go with that. Not liking the colors together. I'm liking this better. So we're going to go with this. So we need that on there. We also need some more. I have this piece of background paper from Louisa Heinzel's kit, and it's called Ginkgo Butterflies. And I'm liking these colors here. So, whoops, silly me. Get that over out of the way. Don't necessarily want the roses, although it wouldn't be bad. I think we'll do another strip. and go from there. So I like the numbers here. I like these colors. Let's get some of this over here. In keeping with the using what I used on the tag, I want to add some mulberry paper. So I have a piece of that. That might be just a bit big. I do want to see some of my page behind it here too. Now we'll have to decide what we want to use to put our ephemera in. And I'm debating on making whether I want to make like all different pockets, some tuck spots, some belly bands. Probably it'll be as each project speaks to me, I think. We will just go ahead and use our vintage photo and ink up around these edges of these papers. All right, I've glued my papers down and I decided I wanted less of the leaves and I just wanted like more of a border, and I wanted more of Louisa's paper showing through. Now I want to take my stencil again and add some embossing paste to this page, just randomly. So I'll do that and then we'll have to let that dry. So guess who forgot to turn the camera back on after coming back from everything being dry? Anyhow, I can explain to you where we kind of went from here. I wanted to add ink to the modeling paste because it was too white. So I started adding like, oh gosh, I added frayed burlap and rusty hinge and all these different colors trying to get just what I wanted. And it just wasn't working out for me to get what I wanted. Then I sprayed with some mustard seed to get some yellow on it. And my giraffe it just soaked it all up and it just made him look so bad. This giraffe back there, the shadow. So I had to print out another giraffe and cut him out and set him aside while I worked out what I was going to do with the page. Ends up, I like what I've done, but I didn't come to that conclusion until I pulled out this paper from my stash, and it's a golden yellow honey type color, real rich, and I laid my card on that and I'm like, that's it. So I found my honey, wild honey, and I went over my embossing paste with my wild honey, and then it started all coming together. And then I realized that's it for the butterflies too, because the butterflies have that color in their wings, and then everything just came together at that point. At first I thought, I've ruined it, I'm gonna have to start all over, but I kept plugging in until I found just what I wanted, and then it worked together. So when I layered it together, I decided I was going to have another giraffe on top of that one because he was just way too orange. And it either looks like he has a shadow or it's another giraffe in the background behind him. Whatever you want it to be, that's what it can be. So I layered my card onto my paper, glued that all down, except for I left a tuck spot here for my card to go in that Louisa and Barbara had provided for us of the giraffe. Behind this, I added some texture. This is some ribbon that was gifted to me, and then I have some threads from another project that I had saved where I had frayed some fabric. So I put those under there. And then I decided, well, these butterflies were on the same page for the freebie that Barbara had given away, and it had this clock on it. So I pulled out some of my Tim Holtz clock hands to use for the antennae for the moths, put it on the clock, and it just looks so cute down here in this corner. And then I added another butterfly up here. And so I have my triangle with the butterfly, and the giraffe here going on. And then I have a place to store my card from Barbara and Louisa. Then I added some white splatters and some gold splatters. So this card looks totally different than the way it started out, but I'm happy with the way that it ended up. So it's all good. So I want to thank you for watching. Sorry I didn't turn my video back on. I've done that a couple other times before too. You'd think a person would learn, right? We shall see you again on when I do day 3 of Dephemerember. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day. Bye.